Look at those goats gawking at that. Oh, bless you.
I'm like, please let me eat it.
They want. We should let them out.
Let them out?
I mean, when we're here.
No, okay.
They wouldn't go very far. They'd have a field day on that tree. Actually, we could throw some of these branches to them. The actual tree's still very green because it still has some connected roots. Y'all want to eat that tree so bad?
They don't want that old stuff. They want that green stuff.
Hold on. Oh, you got it. Here, don't hit my mug.
Yeah.
Good morning, y'all. Welcome back to Roots and Refuge Farm. Day 5 after Hurricane Helene came directly over the Midlands of South Carolina. We have been without power since then. I think I'm finding my stride. What about you? I mean, I know it's still hard, but I think we're like figuring out our systems.
Well, I mean, if we go like this for 3 more days, then we won't really need it to go back to normal.
That's what Papa T said last night. We went last night. Thank you, babe. Okay, well, what happened was I was trying to make chicken bog, which is more or less like chicken and rice with some veggies and stuff in it. I have my big pot on the front porch on the propane burner.
We're not originally from South Carolina, so we've never really done chicken bog before.
I've made it a couple times since I had it the first time.
Yeah, but wasn't the first time by accident you were making chicken and rice soup and added too much
I just
rice?
added too much rice. Yeah, so it's essentially like chicken and rice soup, but it's not brothy. It's just chicken and rice with veggies, and they call it chicken bog, and it's kind of something common for around here. Anyway, I was trying to make chicken bog because I didn't have any paper bowls. I didn't want to have to wash dishes, so I wanted it to be on a plate. Well, just honestly, I was kind of distracted. Left too much broth in, and I ended up unintentionally making like 14 quarts of food. because you know, one thing led to another. I just kept adding more rice. Well, then Maya had gone over to our neighbor's house, Papa T and Mimi next door, and of course their kids live on the other side of them. And he called me and said, hey, Jeremiah called me and said, what are you cooking? Is there extra? Because they're just eating eggs for dinner. And I was like, well, as it turns out, there is extra. I unintentionally made enough food for 20 people. So we took our big pot of chicken bog over to next door and ate dinner with them. And Papa T was telling me stories about when he was a kid, and he grew up here in South Carolina. And he said they had a little bit of electricity, but not much. Like, it was used for certain things, but like they didn't just like when it was nighttime, you were pretty much sitting in really low light situations. And he was talking to me like he said they had an outhouse. Like, he was talking about his childhood, and we were looking at the website, kind of trying to get an idea of when power is going to be restored. And it's looking like it could still be a while. And he said, if it takes another week, they might as well just leave it off. By then we will have adjusted.
Yeah, we won't need it.
I don't want them to leave it off. That's not where I'm at. Helen, what's up, girl? You ready for breakfast? In all seriousness, the first couple of days were definitely the hardest, simply because we had a lot of supplies. Like, I had water filters, like I had a lot of things, but they were all in storage, and it just took us a minute to kind of get everything out and set up, and figure out kind of the rotation we needed to do with the generator. And then some friends, when their power, they didn't lose power for long. They live in a different area over kind of further away from where we are. Anyway, they loaned us an extra generator, and we were able to get the well on with that. And it's not staying on, we're just doing it intermittently, but that's helped a lot. One of my favorite things about this whole thing is that it has given my children a perspective of how absolutely spoiled we are in our life. That, like, when we're turning the well on intermittently throughout the day and filling back up water and all that stuff, they're just like, wow, running water is such a gift. It's just like never occurred to them before. You can tell them all day long, but like, they have
yeah, or the fact that 2 trees fell, missed the tree house, and the thing that they're most excited to play in is the trees. I'm like, guys, if all you wanted were the trees, I could have just knocked them down and left them.
And not built them.
Not built the tree house, and it would have saved me a lot of time and money.
Oh, this rooster knows what's good. He stays right here because he eats all of the dropped grain. This is him waiting for his breakfast to be served. Helen eats like such a lady. Hand milking the cow is going pretty well. I have been so thankful that we only have one currently in milk. As hard as this summer was and losing, you know, dairy cows and downsizing and all of that, I cannot imagine how hard this would be had we had what we had even just 2 months ago. Right now, Helen's calf is still on, but he's young. He's only a month or so old, and so he can't eat all of the milk that she's making. At this point, we're not even separating the calf at all. We've just been milking what he doesn't get to. And usually this quarter is completely untouched, and it has close to a gallon in it. Helen peed in the stanchion. At least it wasn't poop. We're just looking for the bright side here. Constantly. That's been the theme of the last few days. It's just look for the bright side. In all seriousness, I am a firm believer that attitude is everything. And if you decide that you're going to be miserable in any situation, you most certainly will be. And if you decide that you are going to be okay and make the most of something and harvest what is good out of it, you will typically be able to find that it doesn't make things not hard. We were pretty prepared for this situation. We're finding areas where we definitely want to make some changes. I've been sharing that. And Jeremiah and I are here together, and being able to work on things together makes a big difference. But I actually think our children are going to remember this as like a core memory of their childhood in a positive way, which is wild. What an opportunity to be able to experience something very challenging, but make it better. Now, also, we are expressing incredible gratitude for having not had a worse situation, and really looking for the ways that we can support the people up in Western North Carolina, East Tennessee. I mean, there are some people that literally lost everything in this situation. Watching the footage that's coming out of like the Asheville area, East Tennessee, like the bridges being washed away. You know, some of these places are looking at a 6-month minimum before they have like utilities and roads again. That's wild. But you know, I was talking yesterday. I'm making a lot of videos right now. One, just because we're home, and I actually don't find making videos difficult at all. Anytime that I actually struggle to make content regularly is just because I have obligations that are taking me away from home. I have things that the kids have to do and different things like that. When we're home, like, this is easy. I'm taking this inside. What I'm gonna do is strain it into like a food safe big clear container and let the cream separate over the next couple of hours, and then strain the cream off. It won't last as long because I didn't get it cold fast. You want to get your milk cold within really an hour or two. You want it less than like 40 degrees, I think they say. Maybe it's 45 degrees, but that hinders any bacterial growth. With this, we're just gonna get the cream and just use it in the next few days. It's not that it's gonna be unsafe, it's just gonna, it's gonna sour a little quicker because I didn't get it cold, but that's fine. I just don't currently have a refrigerator that is operating. They're all running on generators, so I don't have a refrigerator that's like operating with enough power for me to want to put a bunch of warm milk in it, because I don't want the other stuff in the refrigerator to get warmed up. We have a fridge we typically use out here in the barn to cool our milk off, but I just don't have the option right now. I feel like I'm being a little repetitive in these vlogs that I'm posting. The morning that this storm was hitting us, I woke up, I was lying in bed. Of course, we had no clue at that point that it was going to be this serious and that it was going to be such a catastrophic event for so many people. We actually went to bed thinking the storm was not going to hit us because all of the projections showed it going, you know, significantly further west. We knew we were going to get some wind and rain. And we've lived in South Carolina now for going on about 3.5 years. Since we've been here, there have been multiple tropical storms that have come over us, you know, hurricanes that hit and come over us. And we've had some pretty intense rains and some heavy winds, but nothing even remotely near what this was. When this was hitting, I grabbed the camera. Honestly, it kind of helps me to turn the camera on in situations like that to kind of remain calm. It gets me out of my head somewhat. It allows me to kind of be creative and document rather than overthink. And it keeps me out of what if land, if you will. And that was really my main reason for grabbing it in that moment. But since then, I really saw an opportunity here to share with you all. I shared yesterday kind of some of the observations I made when I went out in public and seeing so many people's responses who were not prepared at all for anything of this nature. This morning I woke up and of course I'm getting lots of messages about, you know, port worker strike and all the different things and the risk of impending supply failures and all of that. I stay very apprised of everything that's going on. I choose not to talk about a lot of political stuff because honestly, I feel like the more solid solution, period, is personal responsibility and local community in every situation. And I think that it's very easy to project your energy of trying to problem solve into a system that you don't even really touch. Like it, and that's not to say that politics aren't important. I do think that it's important. I think that it's important for us to have a system where we can be represented in politics. But I think that so many of the arguments I hear are being argued by people who are not taking personal responsibility. And for me, I cannot get in line with arguing anything that removes personal responsibility and the need for a local relationship. Now, my goal right now in turning the camera on in this, and we don't even have it bad. Like, this is the thing that I'm saying, like, this is hard. Don't get me wrong, it's a challenge. I don't even want to say, oh, this is so hard. I feel like this is a challenge. Discomfort allows growth. Nobody ever got stronger by being comfortable. And I think that one of the biggest issues we're having is that lack of personal responsibility and a culture that puts comfort above everything else. Like, the reason we're laughing and smiling and having a good time is, one, yes, there was some preparation, but this is deeply uncomfortable. Like, we are deeply uncomfortable right now, but I know how much uncomfortable situations provide opportunities for growth, provide opportunities for more preparation, provide opportunities for strength for future situations. Think of going to the gym, think of lifting weights, like doing stuff like that. Nobody is ever like, oh, this is so comfortable in the middle of hitting a PR. You're doing that knowing that you're raising the ceiling for the next situation that you're in. And that is motivation enough. And so I'm making these videos and kind of sharing, and I want to keep saying, like, hey, assess with personal responsibility your situation. And I said yesterday, you don't have to do everything. Just because you can't do everything, just because you can't do something ideal, doesn't mean you should not have some measure of preparation and be willing to take personal responsibility for your needs and your family's needs. And I feel like whenever I start to speak about these things, there's always people being like, well, what about the disabled? What about the elderly? What about the this? What about the this? Not everybody is like you. And the thing that it makes me think of is, I got a bunch of kids, and specifically my 3 little boys. They're not that little anymore, but I still call them that. My teenagers are all, you know, into adulthood and nearing adulthood, but my 3 little boys are 9, 11, and 12 now. And they're born within 3 years. They're stair steps. So they're kind of a little package deal throughout growing up. And there's this thing that I say to them whenever, let's say we get in the car and I'm like, buckle your seatbelt, and I can see on my car who has their seatbelt unbuckled, and so I'll see 2 kids that don't have their seatbelt on, and I'll say, buckle your seatbelts, guys, and the one kid that has their seatbelt on is always like, my seatbelt's on, and I'm like, okay, good job, awesome, well, that means I'm not talking to you. You know, hey, I see a pile of shoes by the front door, hey guys, I need you to come take these shoes and put them in your room, please. And one kid will pipe up and be like, my shoes aren't by the front door. Okay, I'm not talking to you then. Thank you for putting your shoes away. You know, I'll give you your kudos in this situation. But if I'm shouting something out and it does not apply to you and your specific situation, I'm just not talking to you. Like, that's fine. That's for you to decide. That's not for me to decide. I'm the one that's just looking at the pile of shoes or looking at the fact that their seatbelt's undone and saying, hey, somebody needs to move their shoes. Somebody needs to buckle their seatbelt. And I feel like whenever I'm making these videos, what I really want to say is somebody needs to make sure you're going to have water to drink. There's very basic human needs that we're very out of touch with because our culture puts comfort above everything else, and a lot of this stuff is easy. We have infrastructure where we can go buy food at the grocery store, where we can go to the bathroom, flush the toilet, and it goes away. Like, we have infrastructure in place where all of these basic needs that used to consume the entirety of people's capacity just to survive, we don't even have to think about these things anymore. But in situations like this, there's the sobering reality that those things, those systems, that infrastructure is not fail-proof. I would even go as far as to say it's very fragile. The food system is very fragile. So things like a strike or a natural disaster could leave you in a situation that can be catastrophic. And like right now, for instance, there are these absolute, genuine, catastrophic things happening in like North Carolina and in Eastern Tennessee. Like, that kind of thing is where it doesn't matter how much you prepared. You could have lost it all in an instant. Just because that can happen doesn't mean we should be in a state of being like, well, it doesn't matter, you know, I could lose it all in an instant, so might as well. Even the argument that I hear, and I'm going to just say this, as a Christian, I am a Christian. The number of people that come to me and say, well, you just need to trust God. I do trust God to lead me to be wise. And so in this situation, like right now, we don't have it bad. Like, we have it a little challenging. We're having to do things a little bit more, and it's honestly evoking great gratitude in me for the opportunity to show my children these things, to have some gratitude that normally they don't have the perspective to necessarily have gratitude for running water. It makes me thankful. And I'm not in an emergency situation looking for someone else to solve the emergency because of preparation. And I'm not saying that in pride or arrogance. I want to turn the camera on for you to be able to be like, man, if I'm ever in a situation that my state's without power for weeks on end, but the state above me is in chaos, we can actually shift the focus to the people who desperately need it, and the needs here can be taken care of. It's so hard to speak to because, again, you say anything and you have I already did that, or that doesn't apply to me, you know, like, okay, cool, I'm not talking to you. But for the people that I am talking to, like, let my wake-up call be your alarm too that says to wake up. Like, this is something that I'm going through that maybe this isn't touching you. But if you have this preparation in place where you're not thrown into a place of complete catastrophe and chaos over basic needs, you'll just be better off. Y'all, look at my trusty dog. He just stands guard over me all the time. Anyway, I know this is repetitive. I'll probably repeat myself again. I said it yesterday, I want to share from the middle. Like, I'm in the middle of this. I'm not saying this. I don't feel a lick of, like, oh well, this is what I do all this for. Don't you wish you did? Like, no. I mean, honestly, isn't it mercy that we get an opportunity to test what we have, and from this place be able to say to other people, like, hey, we live in times that are difficult to navigate. Like, we live in a generation that has honestly been raised in fragility. I mean, like, we are a little fragile by nature just because we've never had to really need for anything. And if you have some skills, that's really awesome. I mean, honestly, the people that I have talked to here locally that are, I would say, thriving through this, are not struggling as much, are people who camp a lot, who are used to kind of like boiling water and cooking outside, and they're not, above going and popping a squat in the woods. I mean, like, it's easier because we've kind of taken the edge off some of that fragility. But this is a good and important conversation to have. And if you are ever turning on news or opening social media and you're getting afraid by the things that you are seeing, fear pushes, wisdom leads. And like, if you feel some sense of urgency, or you feel some sense of conviction or leading, or whatever you want to call it, like if you know in your knower that you need to do something, just do what you can. Don't focus on what's outside of your reach. Don't put all of your energy into something that doesn't require personal responsibility. Come right into the moment, exactly where you live, exactly where you are, and connect with that situation and do what you can, because you'll be better for it. Well, that's it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk and turning on my vlogs from the middle. I bless you guys. Until next time.